Disclaimer, I am not a licensed medical professional. This podcast is not intended to replace real medical support from a mental health professional or other licensed medical practitioner. If you are in crisis and need immediate support, call 911 or reach out to Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988.
Hello and welcome to Dare to Talk, where we strive to bring some positivity to your day. I'm Dare. Let's talk. We are in a series right now talking about our tools for stress management. So we've talked about our fight, flight, or freeze. We've talked about this other things of nutrition and fighting stress with breath, fighting stress with exercise, fighting stress with nutrition. Today, we're going to be talking about fighting stress through mindful meditative practices. And that plays a lot into what I have done in every episode up until now, which is taking our mindful moment before we get into the meat of the episode. Today's mindful moment is going to be different than other mindful moments that we've done, and it is actually going to come out of a book called Just Breathe by Malika Chopra. Just Breathe by Malika Chopra. This book has a lot of meditation, mindfulness movements, and other really great practices for finding our mindful moment. I've used this book a little bit in the past in classroom settings and in other places like that. It has been wonderful. And today I would like to share with you a kind of guided meditation practice that is going to kind of help us find our calm center, which is the purpose of today's podcast post. So I am going to invite you to get into a safe, comfortable position. Sitting, laying down, standing, doesn't really matter. I prefer to lay down or sit whenever I do my meditations, but it's really up to you. You want to be in a quiet place and you want to be able to focus your awareness solely on what we are about to do. So if you're driving, it's not a great time to be doing this practice. If you are busy out and about in public, not a great time to be doing this practice. You want to be at home in a different kind of calm area, away from people, away from responsibilities before we do this. This practice, again, from the book Just Breathe by Malika Chopra, is called That Safe, Happy Place. And I'm going to read it to you guys. As I read it, follow along. It may be helpful to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Breathe in. Pause for a second. And now breathe out. Notice how you are sitting. Is your body relaxed or tense? Breathe in and think. Relax. And breathe out again. Imagine a time when you felt really happy, when you felt loved, full of energy, excited, but also peaceful. Perhaps it was at a birthday party, or on the sports field, or watching a movie with your family. Or maybe it was just a time when you were hanging out with friends. If it is hard for you to think of any time, then create a time. Think about where you would be and what kind of people would surround you. Now choose just one time. See where you are. Are you inside or outside? Who's around you? Do you remember what you were wearing? Or simply make up your outfit? Just see it in your head. Hear where you are. What sounds can you hear? Is there music on? Or is it quiet? Even in the quiet, can you hear sounds in nature or the everyday sounds of your school or house? Are people talking? Smell where you are. It may sound funny, but try to focus on what it smells like. Maybe you remember the unique perfume your grandmother wears, or you can smell the trees that surround you. Taste where you are. If you are eating something, imagine the taste. What makes you feel good? You may want to make up something that you love to eat if you can't taste anything right away. Take another deep breath in and out. Now feel. How do you feel inside? Put your attention on your heart and breathe in the feeling of peace. Breathe in and out. Take another breath in and out and tell yourself to remember this feeling. In and out. Open your eyes if they were closed. If you feel like it, you can write down notes or draw your feelings. What does your happy place feel like? If you had to draw the feelings, what would they look like? Sometimes it's helpful to look at these notes, drawings once a day, and in those moments when you feel stressed, you can look at your notes or drawings or just close your eyes and see the image again. Thank you for joining me in this mindful moment. That meditation did specifically come from Just Breathe by Malika Chopra, but there are a lot of meditations very similar to it on YouTube, on different meditation sites. It's a really good one to have in your back pocket for times when you are really, really stressed and the world is just going kind of crazy around you. Finding your calm, happy place, knowing what that calm, happy place looks like, feels like, practicing, bringing yourself back to it through mental health, mindfulness practices. It's a really good thing to have in our back pocket, which leads us into our discussion for the day on mindful meditative practices. Meditation is very, very beneficial for us on a lot of different levels. It is good for our focus, our cognitive functioning, our attention to detail, as well as our emotional regulation, sleep, and stress management. A lot of therapies for people who have mental health disabilities come back to mindful practices. I know that cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, does. I know that diactyl behavioral therapy, I think that's how you say that, DBT does focus a little bit on mindfulness. There are stress reduction therapies that bring in daily mindful practices. There are lots and lots of different meditations and therapies and other programs that therapists recommend that people go through for mindful and meditative practices. They're really, really, really great for us, especially in our chaotic world where we have stress coming in from all over the place. We have worries about what's happening in our state, worries about what's happening in our lives, worries about what's happening in the lives of the people we care about, worries about what's coming in the future, worries about what's happened in the past, worries about our workday tomorrow, worries about our workday 2 days from tomorrow. Constant worry, constant struggles on what ifs and maybes, constant stress coming in from all of the stuff happening around us that we don't have any control about. It's really easy to get caught in the whirlwind of the what ifs. And it's really easy to get caught in the stress that is coming from outside when we have enough stress to worry about on our own, from our own lives, from our own issues, from our own stuff that we have going on. Stress is a fact of life, but one of the things we can do to combat that stress is daily mindful practice and daily practice of gratitude, which mindfulness rolls into. When we are talking about mindfulness, the first thing you're probably going to think of is meditation. I mean, we just did a little bit of a guided meditation. We're talking about mindfulness. What's more mindful than meditation? Meditation is a huge mindful practice that a lot of people do. It's not the only mindful practice. And meditation can be really, really daunting for people at first, which is why, again, I come back and say, it's not the only mindful practice. There are lots of mindful practices that we can do, and some of which incorporate movement, which is really good for people who have a hard time sitting still. I know that a lot of my friends with ADHD have a really, really, really hard time with seated or laying down or even standing meditation practices because they get that squirrel brain. They're just like, squirrel, squirrel, off on this adventure, off on that adventure, and they can't quite bring it back into focus well enough for meditation in the traditional sense to be super beneficial for them in the long run or in the short moment. They have to start their meditation practices really, really short and build up stamina for meditation. And they have to be ready to be in the mindset to be able to take on that challenge of seated meditation. It's not easy to do. That's why I'm bringing up meditation or mindfulness through movement. A lot of our mindfulness through movement practices are things like yoga. Yoga's a really big one. And it's good for getting in that exercise as well, bringing it back around to exercise being good for us. But it's great for our flexibility, for our mindfulness, for our breathing, for sleep. It's good for us in a lot of different ways. Yoga is a practice that ties in slow, purposeful movements, staying in held positions of balance for a long time or in stretches for a long time. And it incorporates a lot of movement attached to breathing. When we are coming up to a sun pose, we're inhaling. When we're going down and touching our toes, we're exhaling. Things like that. There's lots of breath control involved with yoga. There are people that I've talked to in the past, personal trainers, who have been all about yoga for the physical health standpoint of things. They said they've never been in better shape than when they were practicing yoga. So if you want to go back and look at, you know, exercise and yoga for the exercise portion of things, it also works for mindfulness. It's a very mindful practice. It is very much breath control, balance, being attuned to our body, being attuned to how we're feeling, not pushing our bodies too far, letting our thoughts flow through us, letting our stress flow through us, being in touch with the world that we're standing on and with everything that's going on in our heads and getting that mindfulness in. I cannot recommend yoga enough for people who want to practice mindfulness moving. Other mindful moving practices are things like Tai Chi and Qigong. Tai Chi, oftentimes when people are thinking of Tai Chi, they're thinking of like little old Asian men and women, Chinese Asian men and women out in the yard doing these big, long breaths and movements that are super flowing. And Tai Chi does have a lot of basis in Chinese tradition, specifically in like Taoist tradition. Um, but it is becoming more popularized and mainstream as a way to get in exercise and mindfulness because it is very attached to our breathing, our breath control, feeling the flow of energy through our bodies, and connecting those movements to our breath and making those movements very slow, very purposeful, very full of awareness, and having a clear, conscious a clear, calm, conscious mind while we're going through it. So it's another really good mindful practice, as well as Qigong, which is sometimes lumped in with Tai Chi, but they're slightly different practices. They have different slightly purposes, but they both come from Chinese religion and Chinese beliefs and Taoist religion. And so that's what we get. But you can do Tai Chi and Qigong without being a part of the Taoist belief and Taoist religion. That's just where they originated from. That's where they come from. Much like yoga originates from other Eastern religions as well, I think mainly Buddhism. But you can still practice yoga without being into Buddhism. It's one of those things. So those are really good mindfulness movement things. Another thing that goes with mindful movement is mindful walks. Taking time to go out in nature and do a mindful walk, paying attention to what is happening around you, how you're feeling, what your mind is going on, and what you have going on in your mind, and the thoughts and feelings that you're having going on those walks. What it comes down to with mindfulness and what mindfulness is really, really all about is taking a time to be present in the moment without judgment. And that without judgment part is really, really important. And this is true whether it's a mindful practice of like movement and yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong or mindful walks, or whether or not it's an actual meditation that you're trying to go through. The point is to be aware of your body, aware of how you're feeling, aware of your immediate surroundings and what's going on around you without judgment. We're not trying to label the thoughts and feelings that we're having as good or bad. They just are. And that's a really hard concept for a lot of people to grasp because we come through a society, through a nature that really wants to label everything. It's good, it's bad, it's different shades of gray, it's evil, it's goodness, it's all of the stuff. We have these labels that we put on everything. It's one or the other. There's varying shades of middle ground, but it still leans towards one or the other. But in mindful practices, that's not the case. It's not a good thought. It's not a bad thought. It's just a thought. It's non judgment and also non action. We're not acting on the thoughts that we're getting. We're experiencing the thoughts, acknowledging the thoughts that exist. We're experiencing the feelings, acknowledging the feelings exist, and then releasing them and letting them. We're not spending a whole lot of time focusing, worrying, stressing. The thought of stress is going to come to us. The thought of the troubles is going to come to us. And we can see it and we can acknowledge it. But then we have to let it go. And that's hard to do when we're caught up in worrying. It's hard to do. But that is the point of mindful practices, is practicing non-judgment, kindness to yourself and love to yourself in that non-judgment, and also practicing non-action, sitting and feeling without the need to fix it.
It is time for a terrible dare joke. What do you call a mindful wolf? A werewolf. Get it? Get it? Like aware and werewolves? No. Fine. If you have a joke that you want to be considered for terrible dare jokes, email it to me at dare@daretotalk.blog or at daretotalk4@gmail.com. Look forward to seeing you guys next week for another terrible dare joke.
Sometimes we go into the spiral of, well, I'm having stress and I'm having these emotions. And so I need to fix it. I need to fix it. I need to fix it. I need to do the next thing. I need to feel better. I need to elevate. Our emotions are there for a reason. We have our feelings for a reason. I'm thinking about right now Inside Out. I love the movie Inside Out. It has a lot of accuracy to it as far as psychology goes. From a psychological standpoint, there is a lot of accuracy in Inside Out. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is that we have a lot of judgments towards sadness, feelings of sadness. I'm thinking about on Inside Out joy and how she's always trying to put sadness in a corner. We don't want to feel our sadness. We don't really want to feel our anger and our disgust either. We want to have joy and happiness all the time. And that's the thing that we strive for is the joy and happiness all the time. But sadness has a purpose. Sadness gets us help when we need help. Sadness lets us know that there's something going on that we need to address, that there's a problem that needs attention, that we have a feeling that we need to feel. We don't want to dismiss and smother and push down our emotions because our emotions are there for a reason. They're not good. They're not bad. They just are. And when we're doing our meditative practices, whether it be meditation through yoga, mindfulness through Tai Chi, mindfulness through Qigong, mindfulness through a mindful walk, or whether it be a seated guided meditation, or meditation in complete silence, or meditation listening to meditation music. The point is that we are practicing non-judgment and just being. We don't have to label our thoughts and our feelings as good or bad. They just are. We have them for a reason. They're there. They tell us something about ourselves. And sometimes we need that message. Sometimes we need to know, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that way? Is it good? Is it bad? No, it just is. Why am I feeling stressed right now? Oh, I have a lot of things to be stressed about. Is it good? Is it bad? No, it just is. When we can practice getting into these mindful moments and practice having this acceptance of our feelings as just being, and when we can sit and be with ourselves in the moment, completely present, focused on what we are doing, we can train our focus to focus in on the things that are important and block out the things that aren't as important, the noise outside that we don't need to be listening to that could be contributing to our stress. We can also practice non-judgment, being able to look at ourselves and say, I did a thing. Was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? It was just a thing. And we can practice self-love and self-gratitude. The reason that I mentioned earlier that meditative practices, just straight meditation, can be really daunting for some people is that, one, it can be really, really hard to sit in quiet and focus on nothing, just focus on being. But when we are sitting in our quiet and we are focusing on being, we are really getting to know ourselves. And for some people, that can be really scary. Some people don't like to sit with themselves because they don't necessarily like themselves as they are. They have a lot of complaints about who they are, complaints about who they are as a person, complaints about things that they have done in their past, worries and stresses of whether or not people like them, whether or not they don't like them. And it's scary to be by yourself and to stop and to just let yourself be. People keep themselves moving a lot of times to distract themselves from having too much time to think, too much time to sit, too much time to be with themselves. But meditative practices can be really, really transformative because we are getting to know ourselves on a very deep, very personal, very intimate level. We are getting to know ourselves. We're getting to know the thoughts that pop up into our brains when nothing else is around. We're getting to know the feelings that we're having on a deep and intimate level. We're recognizing that we have challenges and struggles. And those challenges and struggles can be kind of hard to face sometimes. It can be hard to take that time to yourself. Right now, I'm thinking about this show that I've been watching a lot, Extracted, and I'm thinking about this kind of second season of Extracted. And one of the contestants took themselves out of the game and had themselves get extracted because they were having a hard time with their mental game. They were having a hard time being in their heads, being in their thoughts by themselves out in nature with nothing around to distract them. No school to go to, no work to go to, no technology to look at, nothing to read, nothing to do other than just sit and be with themselves. And that was hard for them and took a large toll on them, and they took themselves out because it can be daunting to do that. If you are struggling getting in your meditative practices, and if you are really kind of one of those people who doesn't want to get to know yourself just yet, you're not in the mind space to sit and do meditative practices, just straight meditation or guided meditations or sitting meditations, movement mindfulness is a good option. You're moving, you're focusing on your movements. So you're not having as much time to sit and be with yourself. But as you get more comfortable with those movement mindfulnesses, I highly, highly recommend starting slow with 5 minutes of meditation, actual meditation. Whether or not it's a guided meditation, that's up to you. If you like guided meditations, have at it. If you like sitting with just music or sitting in silence for your meditations, that works too. But meditating is highly beneficial. It's good for sleep. It's good for emotional regulation. It's good for focus. And it's good for getting to know yourself. And it's really, really good to give you a chance to practice some self love, some non judgment, and some non action. We don't always have to be acting all the time. We don't have to be judging all the time. We can just sit and we can just recognize that it's not good. It's not bad. It just is. If you are somebody who does a lot of meditation, post in the comments. What meditations do you guys use? Do you do mindful guided meditations on YouTube? Do you have an app that you use? I know there's lots of apps out there for people who want to do guided meditations. I've used several myself. If you do mindful movements, what mindful movement do you do? Do you do Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, seated yoga, mindful walks? Do you use an app for that? Do you have a specific program that you go through? Do you have a book for that? Do you have any other recommendations for good mindful practices that you can do? Leave them in the comments. I love hearing your guys' comments on these. I like hearing your guys' stories. If you guys leave stories, I'm totally, totally open for those. Otherwise, I'm Dare, and I dare you to talk about how you're really feeling today.